We are still looking at some of the routine management practices in farm animal management. Some of them, that's what we are still looking at. Last time we studied a few. We are continuing from where we stopped. We are looking at the first one here is one we call chaining. This is a very simple thing. A metal chain is tied around the neck of a farm animal. And these animals are either cattle or sheep or goats, specifically not for pigs. Because you know pigs, their head, you know how it looks like. And again, their skin, you also know that chains cannot, if you injure them, you wound them. So that is what we call chaining, tying a metal chain around the neck of cattle, sheep, or goats. It is a method of identification. This method puts certain things there to identify the animal. The advantages of chaining are very simple. It's very cheap, it's easy to perform, and does not have any effect on the neck. But then, that's an advantage. For example, it is not good for short animals. For short animals, the chains may be dragging on the ground. That is not very good for the animal to disturb the movement. And the numbers may not be easily seen because the chain will take, at least emphasis will be on the chain and not be able to read out the numbers. Then, of course, you know, chains, they can get stuck as the animal is moving about, or they can even break off. So those are the disadvantages of chaining. But first of all, know what chaining is and why it is done. Very simple. Then the other one is branding. What is branding? Branding is, again, a very simple thing. A mark, a special mark is made on the body of an animal. The mark could be letters, it could be numbers, or anything. You put it on the body of an animal as a method of identification. There is hot branding and there is cold branding. When you are using hot iron, it is called hot branding. Iron that is red hot, you use it to mark, to write something on the body of an animal. Or an iron too that is very, very cold. Something that is ice that is very cold. You use it to mark the body of a farm animal. As cold as -70°C. But you should do, first of all, you should know that branding is when a special mark is made on an animal body for identification. Advantages of branding: one, it is numbers are easily seen, and then it's very easy to perform and very cheap to do. But the disadvantages again is that it is painful. No red hot iron on an animal body, the animal will shout and scream, and it can destroy the hides and skin of that animal. And it may cause infections, which can give complications and may lead to death of the animal. Or the skin may heal, and the animal, those numbers become very difficult to read. These are the things you look at before you know what to do, but that's what you want to perform. But know what branding is, and then there are advantages and disadvantages. Then, apart from that, there's a third one called debeaking. Debeaking. Let me write it on the board for you. Debeaking. It is called debeaking. Debeaking is performed on birds, poultry birds. And what is it all about? It has to do with partial removal of the beak. The pointed nature of the beak, you shave it, scrape it so that it becomes blunt. Why? Because, first of all, we want that animal to stop pecking other animals. Pecking means you're using their beak to hit the body of other animals. In the process, it can lead to cannibalism. Then we want to prevent pulling of feathers, feather pulling. We want to prevent cannibalism and also prevent eating of eggs. Those are the advantages of debeaking. Debeaking. I said debeaking is what? Partial removal of the beaks of birds. Scraping of the beaks of birds to prevent their pointed nature so that they become blunt. That is what we call debeaking. And when you are debeaking, what you use, the instrument you use is called a debeaker. There are special instruments for it. You can use the debeaker. If you don't have a debeaker, you can get a very sharp razor blade, but you have to be very careful so that you will not wound that bird. I've told you the advantages are: one, it prevents pecking on other animals, it prevents feather pulling, it helps to control cannibalism, and prevents the eating of eggs and the destruction of such eggs. The disadvantages of beaking is that, one, it is painful. It is painful. When you are cutting, anything that has to do with cutting using a very sharp blade is painful. It may cause stress, and then it may damage the beak and tongue of that animal. These are the disadvantages. But debeaking is very important because, especially poultry birds, there's always competition among birds. There's always competition. They fight and want to destroy and want to eat each other. So the ones that have advantage, they have that pointed nature of their beak. You may come one day and discover that 3-4 birds have been cannibalized. So to prevent all those things, you have to debeak. It's always performed in poultry management. Then we have another one we call dehorning. Dehorning. Let me write it on the board for you. Dehorning. Dehorning. What do we again mean by dehorning? Removal of horns. Removal of the horns of farm animals. Now, you all know that horns are not edible. We don't eat them. We throw them away. For animals, basically, they need them for defense, especially when they are in the wild. That is what they use to fight. But in the farm, those things do not exist. So the animals don't actually require those horns when they are in the farm. So you have to dehorn them, you have to remove them. Why do you remove them? What are the advantages of dehorning? One, to create space, to create more space for the animals. More animals without horns can enter into a room than animals with horns. Two, the animal becomes peaceful, they become docile. That nature, aggressive nature is no longer there because they don't have that horn that is making them to feel to have that. Then it improves the physical appearance of the animal, and then it makes it easy for you to transport that animal. I said, let me repeat, the advantages of dehorning. One, I said it creates space for the animal. Two, it makes the animal docile and peaceful. Very important. Easy to handle. Three, as I said, it improves the physical condition of such an animal. The aesthetic condition of that animal is improves. The appearance, okay, let's not say physical condition, let's use the word physical appearance of that animal is improved. And then fourth, becomes easy to transport such animals. Transportation of such animals, you can load more of them inside the trailer and move them when they don't have horns than those with horns. And then we are told that it reduces cannibalism, aggressiveness. It reduces aggressiveness, yes, of such animals. How do you dehorn? How do you dehone if you want to dehone? How is it done? There are so many methods of doing it. You can use a hot iron. You get a hot iron when the horns are just coming out. When you see the horns coming out, you put this iron on top of those horns and the iron will burn and destroy them. Put the iron on top of the horns, you burn and destroy them, and they will not grow again. Some can use saws. Saw is a sharp knife with serrated edges. You can use it to cut the horns. Use it to cut the horns. Methods of dehorning. One, I said use of hot iron. Two, the use of saws. Use of saws. Cut it. Use saw to cut the horn. And then the third one is use of chemicals. Use of chemicals. E.g. the caustic soda. The caustic soda is a very sharp chemical that has burning effects. These are when the horns are just coming out. You see that they are coming out. You can just drop caustic soda on it, you burn them up and destroy them. Then you are told that there are what we call electric dehoners. The use of electric dehoners. These are very expensive instruments to buy. If you can afford them, then you can use them. Then the fifth one here is the use of a gauge. The gauge is just a hole. You put the hole inside the horn and then you pour chemicals inside. And that will destroy that. Listen to what I just said. I defined dehorning for you. I was asking about dehorning, and I said dehorning is basically the process of removing the horns of a farm animal. You make the animal what we call polled, a polled animal. A polled animal, P-O-L-L-E-D. A polled animal is an animal that has no horns. How to make the animal a polled animal? So you dehorn, you remove the horn. And what are the major advantages of dehorning? It creates space, it makes the animal docile and peaceful, to improve the physical appearance of the animal, to make it easy for the transportation of such animals, and then to reduce the aggressiveness of such animals. Disadvantages of dehorning is very clear. It can cause injuries, which may lead to infections and death of an animal if it is not done properly. So for you to be able to carry out some of these processes, these management practices, you have to be an expert, somebody that really knows what he or she is doing. Method of dehorning, I told you can use a hot iron, you can use a saw, you can use chemicals, buy an electric dehorner, or dig a hole inside the horn and pour in some chemicals. That is all about dehorning. The other one we have to do here is castration. Let me write it on the board for you. Castration. The first thing is that what exactly is castration? What do we mean by castration? It's very simple. Removal of the testes of male is done on male animals. To do what? To prevent, yes, to prevent breeding. You don't want that animal to be able to breed. You castrate such an animal. It's called castration. Why is it done? Why is it done in farm animal management? Or let's call it the advantages now. Advantages of castration. Castration. Why is it done? Why do you have to castrate? One, the animal grows faster. The animal grows faster. Faster in the sense that the energy that would have been used for reproductive purposes will now be channeled towards growth, and the animal begins to grow very, very fast. Then the second major one is that it reduces the male odor. Animals usually have all male animals, they have a peculiar odor, some of which are not very nice. Bad. For example, the he-goat that announces its presence with an offensive odor. You also find it in pigs and others. So to remove that male odor, you have to castrate. And then the third one that it makes the animal docile and easy to handle. Makes the animal docile and easy to handle. So these are some the major advantages of why castration has to be done. It is performed on all farm animals. Cattle, sheep, goats, pig, or even poultry, male animals. You've heard of what we call a capon. A capon. That is a castrated male cock. A male fowl that is castrated is called a capon. So this is castration, and this is why it is done. These are the advantages why castration is carried out. And the disadvantages of castration, again, is very simple. That one should be very easy for you to understand. It is not easy, it is painful, and then if you do not take time, you will injure the animal and can bring about secondary infections and bring about death of such animals. The method used for castration, there are very many. Very, very many. Some of the methods that are used for castration, there are very many. You can have what we call a cut. You cut the testes and you remove them. You remove them. You cut the testes and you remove them. What we call methods of castration. The first one is open incision. Open incision. That's the first one. Cut the scrotum and remove the testes. Yes, if you create a wound, which if you treat them well, it may heal. The second one, there's what we call an instrument called Borduzu. Borduzu. It's a castration instrument. You place it on the spermatic cord, crush the spermatic cord, and stop the flow of blood into the spermatic cord. You can now destroy the testes. So we'll stop there today. My time is up. We'll stop there. When next we come, we'll continue from where we stopped. Thank you.